I now want to shift focus to our top story, India's war on Red Terror. 3 lakh CRPF personnel did not celebrate Holi this year. This after 12 braves were massacred in a Maoist ambush near their camp in Chhattisgarh. This is eerily similar to the Maoist attack on a CRPF convoy ahead of Holi, and that was 3 years ago. The CRPF have pledged to ensure that the deaths of 12 personnel are not in vain. But is there a larger national drive to end the Maoist terror at source without fear or favor? Let's find out. Two days before Holi, on the 11th of March, a CRPF camp in Sukma lay splattered with blood. The Naxals had massacred 12 CRPF personnel not far from their camp. 13th of March, as the nation was drenched in the colors of Holi, 3 lakh CRPF personnel did not play the festival of colors. They instead paid homage to their comrades in arms.
सीआरपीएफ ने देश भर में जहाँ पर भी हमारी तैनाती है कि आज के दिन हम होली किसी भी हालत में नहीं मनाएंगे और हमारा पूरा का पूरा कार्य ये रहेगा कि हम उन लोगों को श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करें जो कि इस पे जिन्होंने अपने आप को कुर्बान कर दिया देश के लिए.
But not just the CRPF. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh and the Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Raman Singh also did not play the Festival of Colors.
इतना ही मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि उनकी शहादत को मैं नमन करता हूं और अपने सीआरपीएफ के जवानों और साथ ही साथ छत्तीसगढ़ पुलिस के जवानों के शौर्य और पराक्रम को मैं सैल्यूट करता हूं.
As Indians across the country watched Holika Dahan, 12 martyrs lay in their funeral pyres. Their villages also did not celebrate Holi. Only tears for India's lost sons.
सेना में हम भी बहालोंगे, बदला लेंगे.
Sukma has long battled the Naxal violence. The 11th March terror attack came on the anniversary of the 2014 Bastar camp attack, where again 16 personnel were killed in action. But it's not just Bastar. More than 77 districts across the Naxal affected area are grappling with red terror. Our soldiers stand tall but without bulletproof jackets. Night after night, the government's accountability is our top focus. As district after district in the red corridor comes under Naxal attack and red terror spreads its tentacles, our CRPF personnel need government cover to stop red terror on its tracks. Bureau Report, India Today. Now this ghastly terror attack at Sukma is not the first. CRPF camps and personnel have repeatedly come under Naxal attack. Let's take a look at some of these attacks in the past. In December 2014, Maoists ambushed a patrol in Chhattisgarh. They killed 14 CRPF personnel, they injured 12. 6 Naxals were also killed in that terror attack. Look at these images on your screen. The Maoists are now gearing up to target helicopters. They are training their personnel to take down helicopters. If a helicopter is going, how a helicopter needs to be targeted by using small arms. Again in March 2014, 15 CRPF personnel were massacred. Naxals ambushed a CRPF camp. It was a forested area. The Maoists walked away with AK-47 assault rifles. In October 2012, 6 CRPF personnel were killed. 8 were injured. This was a landmine blast. There was a gun battle. This was in the Gaya district. In June 2010, 26 CRPF personnel were killed in a Naxal attack, and this had happened in Narayanpur district of Chhattisgarh. So repeatedly terror attacks are taking place in Chhattisgarh. The worst terror attack The Maoist terror attack was in April 2010 when CRPF personnel, 75 of them were killed in a Naxal attack and one Chhattisgarh police officer, so 76 in all. This happened in Dantewada. Now the question remains, what are lessons learned? October again, 2012, CRPF convoy was hit by an IED in Bihar. 6 personnel were killed in that terror attack. The question remains, what are lessons learned? I have Vikram Singh who joins me on the broadcast. He is former Director General of Police and one man who studied Maoist terror attacks very closely. Mr. Singh, I'd like to understand from you, why are CRPF camps and convoys repeatedly coming under attack and the response seems to be lacking?
Mr. Gaurav Sawant, with the greatest of respect to the police leadership and the CRPF personnel, I salute them for their bravery and their valor. But I would also say that constant improvement and constant upgradation of their skills and technology are no longer an option, they are an imperative. We have sadly not drawn on the lessons that we should have drawn. In the course of your introduction, you mentioned UAVs, drones, infrared aiming devices, Dragunov snipers rifles, night vision devices, state-of-the-art bulletproof jackets and patkas. Where are they? Are we going to be sitting ducks to the assault of these terrorists? For too long have we suffered at their hand. The time has come. Now a resolute nation should give a befitting reply.
But why is this not happening? Why is this not happening, Mr. Singh? You were a part of the government. You were a part of the government, and this is a problem that's across several states. There's Chhattisgarh, there's Madhya Pradesh, there's Bihar, there's Bengal, there is Andhra Pradesh. So to an extent, Andhra Pradesh has tackled Red Corridor well. Why have other governments not succeeded, sir?
There are best practices. UP has the best practices. It has almost eliminated Naxalism. Andhra Pradesh, because they raised the greyhounds, they have been able to do it. Bihar lags behind, and so does many other states, including Chhattisgarh. I would say the will is there, but perhaps the inclination and the upgradation of technology is not there. Now, upgradation of technology requires budget. That requires application. That requires synergy with the center. We have the budget, we have the wherewithal. I only hope that we have the modernization in process, and the modernization does not translate into getting photocopiers and laptops. Modernization would mean getting state-of-the-art weaponry, getting UAVs, getting satellite phones, getting state-of-the-art communication equipment.
Okay, but one problem, you know, the basic of intelligence, Mr. Vikram Singh, intelligence gathering, is that if 2, 3, 4 people are assembling, the word gets out. In this case, there are hundreds of people assembling, which means they would be assembling from several villages. They would be walking across several kilometers. Somewhere down the line, the state has absolutely no idea what is happening, and hundreds of Maoists gather, and then they strike, they kill, and they decamp with weapons, and the state is sitting duck. So somewhere down the line, the CRPF, the state police, the state intelligence and the central intelligence, they need to respond. Heads have to roll. Accountability needs to be there, sir.
Very true. Very true. You said it. It is not that these criminals and these terrorists drop from heavens. They assemble, they plan, and they execute. The IEDs that they used with impunity were planted by them in a most brazen fashion in the course of time, and then they used it to their advantage now. Now, this does not happen in a moment's time. It takes a lot of time, and if you have a network of dedicated intelligence, you have technology with you, I'm sure there are systems, and you can able to pinpoint where the movement is, what is the rumbling, what is the undercurrent. It is not impossible. In fact, it is perfectly doable. The proactive states have been able to do it, and any state would be able to do it, and heads should roll. If we have faltered, with the greatest of respect to the police leadership, it is not for me to find faults, but at the same time, it is getting to be more expensive and unbearable by the day, and the time has come to fix responsibility.
Oh, absolutely. This is too expensive a price to pay. I want to quickly bring in India Today's Jugal Purohit. He's been tracking developments on the story very closely, and he's been speaking to his sources, both in the CRPF and in the Ministry of Home Affairs. Jugal, where is India failing in this war on Red Terror? Who's not serious? The center, the state, the police forces? Why is everyone not coming together?
Well, Gaurav, in many ways, this attack is a microcosm of the kind of problems that the men in uniform and the state is facing when it comes to establishing its roots in Chhattisgarh. Take, for example, this instance. Barely 2 kilometers from a camp which is housing more than 300 CRPF personnel, you have an attack where close to 100-odd Maoists are gathering. They have the wherewithal, they have the ammunition to take on a party. In this case, it was a 111 personnel strong party of the CRPF which was moving out. They have the wherewithal to take them on. They trap them, they get them in a certain area, then they start with their bombs. They've laid all those IEDs. And through all of this, the state police and the CRPF have no clue whatsoever about these developments.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, once the encounter starts, a party is trapped. Now, Gaurav, the CRPF has not a single body of a Maoist to show for its retaliation. More than 111 people, 111 CRPF personnel were there. 12 are, of course, no more. That leaves about 97 CRPF personnel who are fine and who are out of the area of the attack.
Okay.
What exactly have they to show as their counter response? It's a big question.
Oh,
Second,
absolutely.
in terms
Stay
of
with me for a
what
moment.
has-
Stay with me for a moment and let's ponder upon this point by point, Jugal. That's a very important point you've raised. Mr. Vikram Singh, somewhere down the line, this shows whether it's training, whether it's tactics, whether it's leadership. Three things apparently found wanting, and not just this time. We've just listed out number of attacks that have taken place in 2010, in 2012, in 2014, in 2017. Somewhere down the line, SOPs are not being followed. Is it because, Mr. Singh, some of the leadership are IPS officers? You are an IPS officer yourself. Is it because the IPS uses CRPF just as a parking lot, parking slot? They come, they spend 2 years and they go. So no long-term training, no long-term tactics, and officer-Jawan relationship is not what it should be like it is in the army.
Mr. Gaurav Sawant, what Jugal has said reinforces whatever you said earlier in your introductory remarks. I would say that the professional capabilities of IPS officers would be second to none. But if you're not able to deliver, if you're not able to draw the lessons, if you're not able to give a befitting counter reply, you're not able to give a befitting reply to the Naxalites, then the time has come to think whether you are equal to the task or not equal to the task. And anybody who's not equal to the task, the nation demands a proper replacement, a proper reinforcement, and a proper reinforcement of the systems and procedures, training, SOPs. If you have not followed the SOPs, then time has come also to see why the SOPs were not followed. Where were the thermal imagers? Where were the scouts? Did you not have a dedicated dog squad? Is it rocket science? A dedicated dog squad to identify and tear the adversary to pieces? Is it rocket science? We have done it in the past and we can still do it. But obviously, as you said, some of us are using CRPF as a parking lot, as a career prospect, as a stepping stone in our careers. Unfortunately, that has to come to an end now. Not tomorrow, but now. And the earlier we do it, better, because seasonal friends do not do well to any uniformed force. You have to be a part of the force. The Jawans have to look upon you as their friend, philosopher and guide, as not somebody as a bird of passage. If you are a bird of passage, then CRPF or any paramilitary is not your force.
Jugal, is that the problem? Mine protected vehicles that do not work, thermal imagers that are not there, weapons, training, tactics, intelligence. Somewhere down the line, the CRPF also has to shoulder responsibility for year after year coming under attack and not being able to devise a mechanism to hit back.
And that too, Gaurav, at a time when the CRPF is not the lead agency, as we are aware, it's the local police which has to take lead. CRPF is there to back them up. Now, there are two quick points, Gaurav, that if you may allow me to make. The first is, last year when we had seen a spate of terrorist attacks on CRPF convoys in Jammu and Kashmir, we had reported this on India Today, how the CRPF's own battalions are actually pleading with their senior headquarters that they have absolutely no time to practice. None of their training companies are getting time to practice and train, which obviously is a very, very serious issue. I'm aghast as to why the Home Ministry is not taking an initiative in rectifying the situation. And secondly, Gaurav, in terms of mine-protected vehicles, you'll be astonished to know that in 2009, that time under Mr. P. Chidambaram as the Home Minister, CRPF had authorization of more than 225 mine-protected vehicles. Till date, they've purchased not even one of them. They are just using those ones which came way before. And again, Gaurav, this is a point where you wonder what the Home Ministry exactly is up to.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the CRPF is not purchasing any of these equipment, even as their men are being killed by IEDs. A quick statistic, Gaurav, more than 100 CRPF personnel have died in the last few years only due to IEDs, and the CRPF does not have a single modern mine-protected vehicle. That's the state of affairs, Gaurav.
Now, this is something that both Rajnath Singh need to respond to as the Union Home Minister. Raman Singh needs to respond to as Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh. Now, the army is rightfully reluctant to fight in the Red Corridor. Is it time then, Mr. Vikram Singh, to raise a dedicated force of perhaps retiring Jawans and Short Service Commission officers, reorient them and launch them to fight a war against Red Terror, to neutralize the threat, to eliminate the threat?
Very true, Mr. Sawant. Bihar has come out with this experiment with absolutely fantastic results. This is one thing that we can do, a dedicated force only to combat Red Terror and Naxalism. And this is something that is perfectly doable, and the best practice that Andhra Pradesh has shown, raising a force like the Greyhounds and the Bihar experiment to bring out all those retiring early from the army who are physically fit and who volunteer to serve. They are paid well, and a dedicated force is raised to fight the terrorists and the Naxalites. It is perfectly doable rather than crib, but at the same time the center has to give us the mine-protected vehicles, the UAVs, the satellite phones and the equipment.
And the helicopters for quick casualty evacuation. Jugal Purohit and Mr. Vikram Singh, former Director General of Police, many thanks for joining me here on India First. We'll continue to track the story very closely. Remember, terrorists also go from one state to the other. You need a force that can follow them, that can chase them from one state to the other and neutralize the threat. We will track that story very closely.